Hello, Talal. Can you hear me?
Ahlan, ahlan. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. How about you? Hmm. Can you hear me? All right, amazing. طيب, you
Yes,
can hear
perfect.
me, but you can't see me yet. And I can't seem to put on my camera, but hopefully to get that soon.
Yes, please. Okay, so we have almost 50% in the room. We'll wait a little bit till the rest of the people come, and then we will start. Talal, I still can't see you.
It's because the host does not allow me to. It says unable
Ah,
to start video. You can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
okay. So now you can,
All right.
right?
حتى you made me host بعد يعني.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, perfect.
Great. I'm ready. Just let me know whenever you think we can start.
Okay, so Andreas Hoop from GIZ is joining for like a welcoming note. So let's wait for 1 minute maximum.
Sam, you please let me know when we kick it off. So finally, my team gave me green light to start for tonight. Can you hear me? And I'm only asking Talal because you're the only person I'm seeing. Can you hear me loud and clearly?
I can hear you loud and clear, Andreas.
Perfect. So hello together. Welcome everyone to the GIZ Finance Summer School. My name is Andy. I'm the head of the GIZ project for financial sector development. Some of you might be asking, why are we doing the summer school? Let me give you a very short story why we do it. I am a trained banking professional. I work in finance in Germany, in Brussels, even in New York City for a short period of time. And I thought I knew something about finance and banking. However, I think it started last year when I walked into my office and part of my team was speaking about things I have not really heard before. They spoke about things like staking, DeFi, open banking, RegTech, and things like that. I started joking with them that they should leave their bubble and come back to reality. It took me a while to understand that they are in a bubble. It was me being in a bubble, the bubble of outdated knowledge. So my banking education is now 15 years ago. I remember that it was a bigger deal for my bank these days to open a department for online banking. You see, it's high time for me, and I'm really happy that you are here with us as well. We have now almost 200 people in the event tonight to kick off the GIZ Summer School. During this month, every Wednesday, 6 p.m., we will learn more about open banking, open finance, why the abbreviation API is getting more and more important in finance. We will also hear about social investing, about RegTech, and really important cybersecurity. We in GIZ, we are really happy to organize the summer school in collaboration with FinTech Egypt. It's always our pleasure to drive this important topic forward with our friends from the central bank. A special thanks tonight for my team member, Hussam. He put it all together for us, and he will also moderating today's discussion after the presentation. If you can use the digital clapping tool, now it's the right time to use it. Thanks, Hussam. Thanks, Central Bank, for organizing it with us. Today, we have Talal with us. He's the co-founder and COO of Jibrel Network, a company building a decentralized financial products on the Ethereum blockchain. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Let me repeat it. Decentralized financial products on the Ethereum blockchain. I cannot really explain what it is, but I'm curious to learn more about it. Talal, welcome to the summer school. I'm really happy that you're available for us tonight, and you will speak about the fundamentals of blockchain. Before I give the floor to you and you start your presentation, let me ask you one question. How, Talal, would you explain to your grandparents the question, what's a decentralized financial product on the Ethereum blockchain and why the hell do I need it? Talal, the floor is yours. Thank you.
That is a very good question that I will make sure to thoroughly answer during my presentation. But the best example is the internet allowed us to change and exchange information around the world with almost no cost and instant speed. If you think of how, if you wanted to send a letter from Egypt to Germany in the 1970s, it's much harder than sending a WhatsApp message from Egypt to Germany. So the internet did that for information. Crypto is going to do the same thing for finance. Today, I have to go to a bank or deal with an intermediary in order to get financial services. In the future, I will be able to do it from my phone using crypto without going through an intermediary. So that's I guess, an oversimplification of it. But you said to do it to my grandparents, and that's why I've done that. It's very interesting that you mentioned my grandparents. Actually, my grandfather was our test user for CoinMina. We basically did a challenge for our product team that basically, if my grandfather is able to fully onboard and transact without asking a single question, then you would have completed your job successfully. And that's not to say anything about his technical capabilities, but as an 86-year-old, he falls, I guess, in the less tech savvy segment of our customer base. Cool. If you allow me to share my screen. And yeah, so can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
All right, perfect. So even though the presentation of the title is called Blockchain 101, I actually won't be talking only about Blockchain 101 because I believe that blockchain and crypto are, you can't talk about blockchain without talking about crypto. But before that, I'll give you a brief about who I am and why I am hopefully qualified enough to speak to you. So my name is Talal Tabbaa. I'm a Jordanian German engineer, born and raised in Jordan. I'm the founder and the chairman of CoinMina, which is a regulated crypto exchange in Bahrain, licensed by the Central Bank of Bahrain. I'm the co-founder of Jibrel, which is a company that builds financial products on Ethereum. I'm also on the board of directors of MEPS, which is Middle East Payment Services. I started my career with PwC and I studied industrial engineering. So that's a little bit about myself. Now to the more interesting stuff. By the way, in terms of, I'll give this presentation, and then if anyone has any questions, we'll make sure to leave space for Q&A at the end. Okay, so what's the difference between blockchain and cryptocurrencies? So it's very important to note that digital currencies or crypto use blockchain technology, but not all blockchains have digital currencies. So as I mentioned, crypto uses blockchain. It is used to transmit value and it can represent any currency or asset. Whereas blockchains, they are distributed ledgers. So they're effectively public databases where the information is stored on multiple nodes instead of a single server. And I'll explain that in a diagram shortly, but yeah, I mean, let's dig deeper a bit on what a blockchain is. So a blockchain is an incorruptible digital ledger of economic transactions that can be programmed to record not just financial transactions, but virtually anything of value or everything of value. So why are blockchains important? I will talk about the double spend problem shortly. But where can blockchain be used and what can blockchains be used for? They can be used across many different industries. Today, no one on this call will ever say, I work in the internet or I work for an internet company, because the internet is now part of everyday life and it's part of pretty much everything we do. So no one works in the internet. People work in healthcare and use the internet. People work in banking and they use the internet. The same will happen to crypto and blockchain. It will become part of every industry, or at least that's my thought. So what does a transaction on the blockchain look like, and why the hell is it called a blockchain? Actually, the name is very descriptive. It is literally a chain of blocks. So block one includes transactions. And once this block is filled up, we move on to the next block. So you can think of it like a bottle or some sort of container where you fill it up with transactions. Once it becomes full, we move on to the next block. And once block 2 is full, we move to block 3. And it's always important to note that inside block 2, we put the information of block 1. And in block 3, we put the information of block 2. So we have a sequential order of transactions because they are all timestamped. So that's basically how a blockchain looks like. On the right side, this is how a transaction on the blockchain looks like. Every transaction has a transaction hash. A transaction hash is basically a unique identifier. This hash can only be related to this specific transaction. No other transaction can ever have the same hash. Here you see the block number. You see it's 127208824. This is the block number. And as I mentioned on the left, that's block 123. So this happened significantly after the first couple of blocks. It has a timestamp. This is the sender's address. This is the receiver's address. And remember, when they say blockchains are pseudo-anonymous, they're not fully anonymous and they're not fully public. That's because you can see the sender and the receiver, but you don't know these addresses, who they are related to. So this is what a sender address looks like, and this is what a receiver's address looks like. Then obviously you have the value of the transaction. Here I sent $800 to my brother, and it cost me 21 cents in order to send that transaction. The nice thing about crypto is that even if I transferred $8 billion, the transaction fee would remain the same. If I sent $1 or 100 or 1 billion, the fees are the same for a sending transaction. So,
Talal, sorry to interrupt you, but Dalia is asking if we can like zoom in the presentation a little bit so they can see the details.
Of course. Okay, so first off, let's start with this. How does a blockchain work? So each blockchain has multiple blocks. Once this block is filled, we move to the next one. And you will realize here that the hash is 0. Why? Because there is no block before this. But for every future block, we include the hash of the one before it. So you see here, previous hash, 1, 2, 3, 4. This relates to this one. So we link it with the block before it. That's how we have an organized chain that is based on time. It is time-stamped. Does that make sense? Can I get a soft copy? Of course, I can send the presentation after. All right. So this is how blocks look like. This is how a transaction looks like. And is this zoomed enough, everyone? Yeah, actually, it might be difficult to zoom in further. But anyway, each transaction has its own hash. This is the unique identifier. This is the block that we talked about in the previous diagram. The timestamp. So when did this happen? You'll see that this happened on the 28th of June. This is the sender address, which is my address. This is the receiver address, which is my brother. And I sent him $800, and it cost me 21 cents. And that's the transaction fee. This is an example from the Ethereum blockchain. Other blockchains may have different setups, but all of them have more or less the same structure. So think, all right, so should we do Q&A now, or would you want us to do it at the end?
Yes, let's make it at the end. I'll help you moderate that. We'll just finish your presentation and then go to the Q&A.
If we're going to leave Q&A at the end, I need you to be my sanity check. If at any point I start talking about anything that's too complex or off tangent, please stop me.
Okay.
That can happen in crypto, but these are for now basics for sure. Yani these hopefully aren't issues. Okay, so now I'm gonna explain something that is the main reason why I believe Bitcoin succeeded, and something that had never happened in the world before. And that is solving the double spend problem, or doing something called digital scarcity. So let's say I want to transfer 100 pounds to Hussam. Okay, I'm talking about the right side. Talal wants to send Hussam $100 or 100 pounds. The bank needs to make sure that Talal has 100 pounds in his account. And once they are moved to Hussam's account, Talal can't spend them again. Is that clear? If I have 100 pounds in my account and I send them to Hussam, I can't spend them again. Why? Because the bank would have recorded Talal's account minus 100, Hussam's account plus 100, and the balance in Talal's account will become 0. So I can't spend it again. Clear? Is that more or less clear? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. That's with stuff that's digital. With digital stuff, we have to depend on an intermediary to make sure that I can't spend my money twice. But in the real world, if I have a $100 bill in my hand and I hand it over to Hussam, then that bill is now with Hussam. It's final. I can't take it back. So this double spend problem is the main reason why digital currencies never worked in the 90s or the early 2000s, because actually when I send a WhatsApp image, what's actually happening is I'm taking a copy of the WhatsApp image and I'm sending a copy. So now there is two digital copies of the same thing. This is okay if I'm sending a WhatsApp picture. It's okay if I'm sending a video, but it's a big problem if I'm sending money. I should not be able to copy and paste money because otherwise the system would fail. With Bitcoin, it actually solved the double spend problem. If I send one Bitcoin from my account to Hussam's account, everyone that is participating on the Bitcoin blockchain knows that Talal's account got deducted -100 and Hussam +100. So I don't have to depend on a bank to verify my account balance. I use the blockchain and the miners to essentially verify the balances. So again, with crypto, we are, for the first time, we are creating digital scarcity. Okay, so what is scarcity? What's scarcity? On Earth, there is about 200,000 tons of gold. We can't create new gold out of thin air, correct? Because gold is scarce. Just like many resources on Earth, there is scarcity. In the past 30 years, we never had digital scarcity. If I have a WhatsApp image, or if I have a WhatsApp voice note, I can send it to everyone's phones. And now we have millions of copies of the same WhatsApp message or image or whatever. So with crypto, we were able to create digital scarcity. And as a concept, this is very, very important. So how does Bitcoin solve the double spend problem? Due to its database structure, blockchain technology allows for instant settlement and reconciliation. So this is how a traditional setup is. On the left, you have a central web server that sends images, Excel files, videos, whatever, to different people who download them. So again, in the example of the WhatsApp message or the image, I would have sent it from my phone to many other computers or mobiles. And now each of them have an image of this with no central repository. With blockchain, it is a game changer because the data sits in the middle. So let me give an example. In the internet, in the world of the internet, data used to sit on the sides. You have a network that connects Talal with Hussam, with a mobile, with a laptop, but the data sits on the edges, which means we need to do reconciliation every month. Whereas with blockchain, you have data that sits in the middle. Both entities or both parties are using the same source of data, which is something that's game changing and something that is honestly revolutionary. And many people argue that the impact that it's going to have on the world is arguably bigger than the internet's. Whether that actually plays out or not, it remains to be seen. So these are two examples of the most popular crypto assets, I guess. Bitcoin is seen by many as a decentralized store of value, as hard money, basically as a digital alternative to gold, because Bitcoin and gold share many similarities. And I can explain those shortly, but Bitcoin is seen by many as this day and age or this new generation's replacement for gold. I also believe that. Whereas Ethereum is doing something a little bit more ambitious, where it's aiming to become the settlement layer of the world, or a decentralized world computer where you can actually do stuff more than just transacting. On Bitcoin, I can send Bitcoin from Talal to Hussam. On Ethereum, I can do a lot more than just sending a transaction. I can actually do complex transactions that can facilitate more than just a transfer. So a transfer would be similar to what payments is in the real world. Other financial transactions can be loan, interest, insurance, and other types of applications. So I mentioned Bitcoin is seen by many as this generation's gold, and let me explain why. So scarcity. Gold, I mentioned, is scarce. There's 200,000 tons of gold in the world. Bitcoin's supply is fixed. We know what's the supply today. We know what's the supply is in 50 years. We know what the supply is in 100 years. So the supply is fixed. In terms of durability, Bitcoin is software, gold is hardware. In terms of portability, you can easily send Bitcoin anywhere in the world, just like an email, whereas in gold, you have to transport it in gold bars. In terms of divisibility, you can go up to 9 decimal places, if I'm not mistaken, on Bitcoin, whereas in gold, you have an ounce. In terms of storage, Bitcoin you can store in a digital wallet, where gold, again, you need a safe or a vault. They're both hard to counterfeit. It's difficult to counterfeit gold. This image is a bit old. So gold is 9 trillion. Bitcoin is now over 1 trillion. So it's 5x what it used to be when I took this image, or when actually I got this image from an article. So this is about Bitcoin and why many see it as gold. And I'm happy to discuss that more at the end. So Ethereum created something called smart contracts. And hopefully this is not confusing, but I will give it a shot. So basically, smart contracts is a contract between two or more parties that is enforceable through code. Code is written between the parties on the blockchain, and the individuals involved are anonymous with the contract recorded on the Ethereum blockchain. So let me give you an example of a real world contract and a smart contract. So let's say, again, Hussam, I'm going to use you as an example. Let's say I'm renting an apartment from Hussam, and we sign a physical contract that says I need to transfer him £1,000 every month. The contract and the payment are not related, meaning if I forget to go to my online banking and send Hussam the money, he will not receive the money. The contract is not tied to the payment. In a smart contract, we would basically say that every 30 days, Talal's account would send £1,000 to Hussam's account every month. On month 2 or on month 3, I don't have to remember everything. The money will go directly from my account to Hussam's account. Why? Because it's a smart contract that combines the payment with the actual contractual agreement. So Ethereum were the first creators of smart contracts, and that's why I think it has a lot of potential. So for this reason, blockchains and Ethereum have spurred a lot of financial innovation. I will not go in these in huge detail because it's quite a rabbit hole, but you have types of tokens that are called governance tokens, and that's products like Aave, Maker, Synthetics. This is within what's known as the decentralized finance space. This is a type of token. You can also have other tokens that are simply digital representation of real assets. So let's say I take equity, bonds, or other types of tokens, other types of assets. I can represent them in security tokens. Again, security is a legal definition. And then finally, I have something called payment tokens. And payment tokens, I'm sure many of you have heard of Libra, the project from Facebook, or what the Central Bank of China is trying to do. So payment tokens are just that. They are tokens that are pegged or based on real world fiat currency, and they just look, or they just transact like a token because tokens are easier to send and receive and cheaper to send and receive. Yeah, so under these types of governance tokens, you have different types of protocols. So lending protocols today, if you have crypto, you can actually borrow or lend on protocols like Compound and Aave. You can trade on protocols such as Uniswap or DYDX, and you actually can borrow from protocols like MakerDAO. Again, Bitcoin allowed us to send money from Talal to Hussam. However, with these lending protocols, or with these trading, lending, and DeFi protocols, you can actually get financial services in a decentralized way. So without going through an intermediary. And maybe at the end of the presentation, I just show you a sample transaction because that can make it a lot more understandable. So I'm going to show you, okay, trading protocols. The most popular decentralized exchange is Uniswap. And I'm going to show you a difference between a normal exchange and a decentralized exchange, just for everyone to get an idea. So this is a centralized exchange. You can think of البورصة المصرية أو the Dubai financial markets or NASDAQ, you have the buyer who goes through their broker, who goes through their exchange, who goes through the broker, and then to the seller. And then you have the compliance and governance, you have your market makers, and you have your matching and clearing engines. This is a normal exchange in the traditional world. This is how a DeFi or crypto decentralized exchange works. You have buyer and seller, and they are matched via smart contract. If I want to sell one Ethereum for dollars, this smart contract facilitates the transaction with absolutely no intermediaries. So it's really a structural change, and one that will have a big impact on the world, I believe. So one thing that's important to note is that crypto is growing at 100% per year in terms of users. But even if this slows down, we are on track to reach 1 billion users by 2024. This chart compares crypto growth versus internet growth. So in terms of the number of users, crypto users today is similar to the number of internet users in 1998. So we're not late, definitely not late to crypto. Maybe not early, but definitely not late. And thanks to crypto, anyone with a phone can get decentralized services that are at least 10 times better than traditional finance. This chart shows you the percentage of households with the type of phone. So in the 1900s, barely anyone had a phone. 1920, we started seeing landlines. And as you can see, it took us 100 years to almost reach 100%. This chart is outdated. It's in 2011, so 10 full years ago. And I'm pretty confident that the smartphone penetration is now in the A plus B range, so 60, 70%. And it is much more than the people that have bank accounts. Like the number of people that have smartphones but don't have bank accounts is insane. And thanks to crypto, in the coming 5 years, you can obtain almost all your financial services through your phone without having to go through an intermediary. So I guess I'll stop there, and I'm sure there will be a good amount of questions. Hopefully you found some of this content useful. If there's areas that are very unclear, I'm happy to go through those in more detail. I will repeat the token definition because all right, 1 minute. I also realized from Kevin that my face wasn't showing properly on the camera. Okay, so first of all, I'll repeat the definition of tokens, because I do agree that that is something that's very important. So this is from the Swiss regulations. The Swiss government said that there is 3 types of tokens. First is utility tokens or governance tokens. And then you have security tokens and payment tokens. Governance token is the one that is most complex, so I will leave this till the end. Let me just explain security tokens and payment tokens. Let's say we take a piece of real estate, or we take bonds or sukuk, a normal financial product that is regulated in the real world, and we represent it in a token. So we create a token that is backed by real estate or backed by bonds or sukuk. Then essentially what we're doing is we're just representing a normal security in the form of a token, and that's what security tokens are. With payment tokens, the tokens are meant for payments. So if you think of what the Central Bank of China are trying to do with their digital yuan, it's a payment token. It is a token that is meant to allow me to pay another individual in a more efficient way. Governance tokens are basically crypto assets. They allow you to own part of a network. So when you buy the Ethereum currency, you don't own part of the Ethereum company. You own part of the Ethereum blockchain. And that's a new asset class completely. But yeah, happy to explain this further offline. If anyone has any questions, I can share some material. I don't know, Hussam, Hussam and Andreas, should we dive into the Q&A on the chat, or?
Yes, I think that would be the suitable time. So you have several questions in Q&A. Feel free to pick the questions that makes more sense, and yeah, please go ahead.
Cool. So before I jump into the Q&A, there was one question from Yusuf Mamdouh saying, what about money laundering? Okay, if history had taught us anything, is that we should never blame the technology. Today, the biggest method of money laundering globally is the US dollar. But when you find billions of dollars with Pablo Escobar, you don't blame the dollars, you blame the drug cartel, not the medium of transfer. So the car, if I take a car and I run someone over, the car can be looked at as a murder device, but yet we use it today to transport, and it has improved everyone's lives. So I think Bitcoin, crypto in general are neutral. The technology is neutral. You can use it for good things and you can use it for bad things, just like you can do with the internet, just like you can do with pretty much any technology. So I don't think that crypto should be looked at from a money laundering perspective, because money laundering is not actually there is a very interesting analysis that came from a company called Chainalysis that basically says that less than 1% of all crypto transactions are related to money laundering or illicit activities, and that's a decent percentage. All right, so let me start with the questions. Anonymous attendee is basically saying, when I say that China wants to create a digital yuan, then how exactly that would have value? What is it backed by? The dollar is backed by oil and trust in the US government. So this is trusted and backed by who? So when the Chinese government launched their own coin, it is backed up by their economy. It is backed up by their reserves. The Chinese central bank is one of the largest holders of US Treasury bills. They own gold, they own other types of assets. So any currency in the world is only worth what people think it's worth. You mentioned that the dollar is backed by oil and trust in the US government. If we've learned anything, is that in the past, no currency in the world has ever lasted forever. Before the dollar, we had the pound, and before the pound, we had many other currencies. So just because the world has trusted the US dollar the past 100 years doesn't mean that they'll trust it in the coming 100 years. So that's for the anonymous attendee. Ahmed Atiyah said, can you give us a hint about blockchains that work without digital currencies? Yeah, so one example is basically Maersk and IBM. Maersk is the shipping company. They are using blockchain to track and verify bills of lading. If anyone has worked in the logistics or shipping industry, you know that a bill of lading needs to be verified by so many different parties, and the process is always a nightmare. So Maersk and IBM work on a private blockchain that does not involve crypto to verify the authenticity of the bill of lading by multiple parties. Because blockchains are essentially a coordination tool. They're a way to make individuals or companies that don't trust one another trust one another. There's many examples of that. I think IBM Hyperledger is a good one. All right, so other question is, Ahmed is asking, who is controlling the blockchain? So it really depends on which blockchain you're talking about. The Bitcoin blockchain is controlled by all of the miners. And basically, why is it called a decentralized network? Because no single entity is controlling it. It is controlled by all of its participants. And this is a very, very, very important concept that I think we need to that we need to really dig into. So with again, if you remember the example that I gave about me sending Hussam money, the bank controls my balance. The bank knows that Talal's account got debited 100 and Hussam got credited 100. So the bank is controlling the database. With Bitcoin, all of the participants of the network are actually participating and validating. So there is no one entity that controls it, multiple entities control it. Anonymous attendee is asking, how can I start in blockchain with minimal risk? So first of all, how can I start in blockchain with minimal risk? So first of all, today in the world we live in, you can read up on information for free. Like you needed to go 20 years ago, you needed to go to a very expensive university to learn the best of the best. Today, there's a lot of information that's available online. You can follow us at CoinMina. We're launching educational videos in Arabic and English to make sure that crypto education becomes as easy as possible. So do reach out to me. When do you see crypto being integrated our day-to-day lives? Okay, so Rana is asking, when do you see crypto becoming part of our day-to-day life? I actually think that just like any form of payment, crypto will not become part of everyone's life. Until today, some people make payments in checks. Like I don't understand how in 2021, some people prefer to use checks, but that's the reality. So if we think of payments as a 100% pie, some people pay in cash, some people pay in check, some people pay in wire, some people pay in debit card, and in the future, some people will also pay in crypto. I personally haven't used anything except crypto for payments the past, I don't know, 2 years. Obviously, I have a debit card, but that's also linked to a crypto account. So it's still niche, as I mentioned. 2% of the world own crypto today, 2%. So I think it's quite logical to expect that that number will, or that percentage will increase in the coming years. All right, anonymous attendees asking, since we had created this network, why is it scarce and why do we want it to be this way? Produce as much as you want as spending money. Interesting. So there's a concept called the debasement of currency. The debasement of currency is basically something that had played out throughout history, and every time it happens, people lose trust in money. Let's assume that, okay, the best way to think about this is gold. Why has gold been a very good store of value for 5,000 years? Why do people trust gold anyway? Because gold is one of the only assets in the world that cannot be created synthetically. You can't create fake gold. You can create fake gold, but you can tell the difference between real gold and fake gold. Plus, you can't, even if gold's price increases a lot, it's difficult to extract a lot of gold from underneath the world's surface. I think there's one chart that I want to show about the US dollar M2 supply. This is the money supply of the US dollar, and it's actually quite concerning because yeah, 1 minute. I will show you this chart because all right, can you see this? This is the M1 supply, so it's not necessarily the most reliable one, but gives you an idea. This is the M1 money supply of the US dollar. It's always been increasing, and then you see in 2008, after the financial crisis, the US government started to print more money, and then in 2020 they went all out and went insane and increased the money supply by a good 40%. So what I believe that will do is it will dilute the value of the US dollar, because me and you, we work to receive a US dollar pegged salary, whereas the US government just decides with a click of a button, tick, $2 billion, $1 billion, $500 million. So people are eventually going to lose trust in that, and that's why scarcity is important. Does the idea of blockchain of crypto assets apply to currencies to be issued by central banks? The idea of private blockchains can apply. Public blockchains, I don't know. If you remember, and I was too young to remember that, but I've read about it. The internet versus the intranet. The internet allows you to speak to anyone. Here we are. I think I only have met Hussam before, yet here am I speaking to 200 people. None of us know each other personally, but we're actually having this discussion. The intranet used to only allow me to speak to people that I know, or approved people. So a public blockchain allows you to interact with anyone. Private blockchains will limit you to the people that are approved. So central banks, I believe, will go the private route, but again, we'll have to see. How do you enforce the Ethereum contract if there's a default? Rana, very good question. Rana, the same exact thing that would happen in the real world. If I owe you $100 for my rent and I fail to pay, you will take me to court, or you will send me a reminder. The same exact thing for Ethereum. If the account does not have enough balance, then there is an escalation process where it could lead to legal at the end. But it's important to note that most smart contracts are not legally binding, so this is not very practical. When you say that the network verifies the transaction, it was the bank and now the miners. Oh, that's a very, very good question by anonymous attendees. He's saying, when you say that the network verifies it, what does that actually mean? I actually mean that one of the miners that are verifying transaction on that network actually verifies the transaction and records it. So what does the verification of a transaction mean? When a bank verifies my transaction, the bank verifies that my name is Talal. They verify that Hussam is Hussam, and they move the money from my account to Hussam's account indefinitely. The transfer is final. So when a miner or when a network is verifying transaction, it's actually a miner that is moving money from my account to Hussam's account and recording it on the blockchain. Once this transfer or once this transaction is successfully verified, this miner receives their transaction fee. There was one important question that relates to this, that basically is basically asking, is the transaction fee fixed at 21 cents? And the answer to that is no. The transaction fees on the blockchain are dynamic and they are based on supply and demand. The supply is the number of miners that are verifying transactions. The demand is the number of transactions that want to be verified. So if, let's say, today there is only one miner and 10 million transactions, the gas or the cost of transaction will be high. If there's 1 million miners and only 2 people want to transact, the cost will be low. So again, it's like a market. Anonymous attendees asking, data is on the center of what and what information is left on the side? I will go back to the diagram to answer that. Okay, so anonymous attendee is asking, when you go to the block, when a block is filled, why do you go to the next one? Can it be just one block? The issue with that is that it becomes very slow if you do that. The nice thing about blockchains is that once you finish a block, you just put it in the past, and now you can operate with faster speed. Mr. Muhammad Sabra is asking, as an IT auditor, I'm keen to know why you assume that blockchains are incorruptible, and if so, what is the measures that can be attested to ensure that transactions are secured with confidentiality, integrity, and privacy? So actually, not all blockchains are incorruptible. The Bitcoin blockchain is incorruptible so far, and the rationale behind it is Bitcoin's blockchain, or Bitcoin in general, is worth over $1 trillion. It's actually a very big industry at the moment. And if someone is able to corrupt it, they can make a lot of money. So that's basically the rationale behind it, is that it had stood the test of time, because it's like a big $1 trillion bounty. Whoever can solve it can make a lot of money. Okay, anonymous attendee said, you can move value, then what can you do with the blocks? Okay, so the blocks in a blockchain are simply containers to store historic data. But then again, a token can represent pretty much anything. It can represent money, it can represent art, it can represent real estate, and that is unrelated to how the data is stored. All right, and I think... All right, so anonymous attendee is asking how to start investing in crypto. While being in Egypt, there is no legal frame of trading or mining. So I am not a lawyer, and I will not be able to give legal advice. But there are websites that allow you to trade regardless of where you are in the world. If you sign on CoinMina, we haven't launched in Egypt yet. Inshallah, the goal is to. You can sign up, and you'll be informed once we open up to Egypt. But yeah, I mean, I personally think that everyone should own crypto. Why? Because you can start with $50. You can start with $100. You don't need a big investment to start. So in 2021, I actually think it's irresponsible not to have any crypto. For coins without a volume ceiling, what determines the coin price? So the price of any asset in the world is a result of supply and demand. If demand is increasing and supply is fixed, then you end up with a situation where price will naturally increase. But then again, prices in the short term don't mean much, because I think crypto is still in a price discovery phase, which means it's very hard for us to say this is the fair value or this is the logical value. With equity, we have had results from the past, I don't know, decades and centuries. So we can look at the cash flow of a company and kind of evaluate whether it's logical or not. Hope that answers the question. Yara, there is one that I actually think is a great tool. It's called Andreessen Horowitz Crypto Introduction. I have sent it on the chat, I believe. Inshallah, we'll be launching crypto educational content as part of CoinMina, so I'll make sure to circulate that. How are Bitcoins created? How can I deal with it or own it? So Bitcoin is created every 10 minutes whenever a new block is created. So I will actually show you how it looks like on the Bitcoin blockchain. So I think you can see my screen. So these are the lists of unconfirmed transactions. Actually, I'll maybe show you the Ethereum blockchain is easier. So these are the lists of the last transactions. So someone sent $1,000. Someone sent 3. This guy sent 123. So this is how transactions look like. And Bitcoin and Ethereum are created whenever a new block is created, because you pay the miners, the commission for the miners is paid from newly created Bitcoin or Ethereum. So that's how new Bitcoins are created. They are created by code every 10 minutes. And they are distributed to the miners. Mustafa is saying the value of Bitcoin jumped from $2,000 to $60,000 in a few months, not because they have become scarce, but because of high demand. The new price is affected by Elon Musk's tweet. Is this stable? So the question is, what is stable? Like, what does stable mean? In my opinion, the US dollar is not a stable store of value, and the rationale behind that is القوة الشرائية, or the purchasing power. By the way, أنا كنت عم بحكي بالإنجليزي آخر فترة. حسام، نحن should we stick to English ولا عربي بزبط كمان؟ حسام.
Hi Talal, this is Ali from GIZ as well. ماشي, we can start طبعا. We can speak in Arabic, no problem at all.
Cool. أشوف الكومنتس إيش بتقول، أحكي بالعربي ولا؟
حتى الناس هنا ابتدت تقول مفيش حد أجنبي فينا فممكن نتكلم بالعربي.
طيب تمام. Andreas, I will translate anything that's missing, but I'm sure that you got it covered. بس anyway, أنا يمكن في نقاط أسهل الواحد يوضحها في العربي. يفضل العربية. أبشر يا سيد. القوة الشرائية تبعت الدولار نزلت قيمتها بآخر 40 سنة. يعني أنا بتذكر لما كنت صغير، إذا بدي أروح على السينما معاي $5 أقدر أشتري تذكرة وبوشار وبيبسي ودنيا. هلا القوة الشرائية تبعت الدولار نزلت عبر الزمان. فجوابا على سؤال الأخ مصطفى إنه is it stable, Bitcoin is not stable, it is volatile. فلازم الواحد يكون حذر لما يستثمر بالعملات الرقمية. ولكن يعني الواحد لازم يستثمر مبلغ صغير من أملاكه، ما يستثمر مبلغ أكبر من طاقته، لأنه هو مش ستيبل. ليش مش ستيبل؟ لأنه بيطلع وبنزل كتير بالفترة الزمنية القليلة. ولكن أنا لما أشتري بيتكوين، أنا ما بشتريه عم بفكر بشهر وشهرين. أنا عم بشتري بيتكوين زي كأني عم بشتري أرض، بدي أتركه ل5 سنين 10 سنين ما حفكر فيه. فما بتعنيني التحركات اللي بتصير في المدى القصير، أنا بعنيني التحركات اللي بتصير عبر فترة زمنية طويلة. أخت غادة، الصوت لسه بيقطع، دقيقة شوي. هيك أفضل؟
هو الصوت من عندي أنا كويس جدا.
تمام. إذا عندك كويس بده يكون أوكي تمام. أختي غادة بده يكون الصوت من عندك، سامحوني إذا في أي شيء من طرفي. تمام. إيش كان في سؤال؟ I'm a software developer. أحمد ابعت لي على لينكد إن أو على الإيميل إذا أنت software developer. أنا برأيي المتواضع حسب طبعا إذا أنت باك إند أو فرونت إند، بس اليوم أكبر فرص للواحد يخطي ويمشي بحياته العملية، أنا برأيي المتواضع هو يتعلم اللغات اللي تختص بالاثيريوم بلوك تشين او بغيرها من البلوك تشينز. يعني اذا بنطلع اليوم على الرواتب، بكل امانه انا لو اني مش عامل كوين مينا او مش عامل جبريل كان بتعلم برمجه وبقدم على هدول الشركات، لانه الرواتب 5 و6 اضعاف الرواتب للمبرمج او المحلل المالي او اي شخص اخر. ففي لغه سوليديتي بالتحديد، Solidity which languages Solidity ورست. I would look at Solidity and Rust. هدول التو languages إذا الواحد بيتعلمهم بيقدر يشتغل من مكان اللي هو موجود فيه، لأنه الشركات هاي بتوظف ريموت فيرست، والسالاريز عم بتكون يعني الواحد عم بيحكي عن $120,000 بالسنة. أنا في زميل إلي بالأردن كان يعمل $1,200 بالشهر، هلا عم بيعمل $10,000 بالشهر، لأنه قعد آخر 6 أشهر بيتعلم سوليديتي. وطبعا إذا الواحد عم بيعمل هيك راتب وعايش بالأردن أو ببلد مش غالية كتير بيكون الموضوع مجدي جدا ماليا. وأنا بصراحة ما بطلع عليها من ناحية بس إنه مجدي ماليا بالمدى القصير. اطلع على الناس اللي اشتغلت بمجال الإنترنت بأواخر التسعينات، كله هلا يا صار مليونير او صار وضعه تمام. ليش؟ لانه صار عنده او عندها كفاءات اللي ما في منها عرض كافي. فانا هذا وجهة النظر تبعتي على العملات الرقميه. محمد يوسف وين اسئلتك؟ انا والله عم بحاول بس كثرة الاسئله. وين محمد؟ والله ما في اسئلتك. محمود يوسف، عفوا محمود، ممكن please read my questions. والله ما شفت الأسئلة. وين أنا شفت تمام. إيش في أسئلة إضافية؟ how to invest in blockchain.
كان في سؤال بيقول could you please explain gas fees and coin burning يا طلال؟
تمام. الجاس فيز هو زي كأنه ترانزاكشن في، يعني أنا اليوم لما أحول حوالة عن طريق البنك بدفعني رسوم، والرسوم هاي بتروح للبنك. بحالة الجاز فيز، المصطلح تبع جاز فيز مختص بشبكة الإثيريوم. إذا أنا ببعت لحسام أو لعلي 1 إثيريوم بدفع رسوم تسمى هذه الرسوم الجاز، والجاز هذا بندفع للماينر اللي عم تعمل فيريفيكيشن للترانزاكشن، فهي بتروح لتوثيق الحوالة مني لعلي أو لحسام. فالجاز فيز هي رسوم التداول أو رسوم الدفع. البيرنينج هو موضوع مختلف. البيرنينج هو كمان شيء له دخل بعملة الإثيريوم، ولها دخل بالعرض تبع إثيريوم. تقليديا السنة الماضية كان كل الرسوم الجاز فيز بتروح للماينر. هلا اقترحوا سيستم جديد لشبكة الإثيريوم اللي نصف الجاز فيز أو جزء من الجاز فيز بيروح للماينر وجزء بنعمل له بيرن. ليش بنعمل له بيرن؟ لأنه إذا العرض تبع إثيريوم بقل عبر الزمان هذا حيكون عنده نتيجة إيجابية ل عملة الإثيريوم كوسيلة استثمار. ليش؟ لأنها بتصير سكيرس. طيب إيش في أسئلة كمان؟ جمال، بحب أطمنك إنه أنت مش الوحيد اللي عنده مشاكل digesting it to الconcept. هو الموضوع فقط بده إصرار وبده يعني بدك ما يعني إذا قعدت يوم ما حتفهم، إذا قعدت يومين برضه ما حتفهم. الموضوع بده إصرار لأنه هو موضوع جديد فعلا وما في كتير ريسورسز منيحة. ف مشان هيك أنا بحيي GIZ لهذه الجلسة. إن شاء الله إنه الكل يكون يستفيد منها. اوكي، محمود بيسأل اذا a hash is lost can I get it and how. هلا انت الهاش موجوده على البلوك تشين بكل الاوقات. الهاش هو زي يونيك ايدنتيفاير، رمز فريد من نوعه. مختص بحواله، فالهاش اذا ضاعت بترجعها. ولكن البرايفت كيز هو موضوع جدا حساس وجدا هام، له دخل هو زي اليوزر نيم وباسورد تبعك اذا بدنا نعمل تشبيه يعني. فالبرايفت كي لازم الواحد يهتم فيه وما يبعته لاي حدا ثاني، وفي امور لها دخل بالسكيورتي جدا حساسه للبرايفت كي، واذا ضاع للاسف ممكن ما برجع. فمشان هيك الواحد لازم يكون حذر وما يشتري من اي منصات تداول غير مصرح لها. اذا بدك تشتري من منصات تداول يفضل او لازم انا برايي انه تكون مصرح لها من جهات رقابيه، سواء كان بنك مركزي او غيره. هذا موضوع طبعا بيعود للواحد وين هو مقيم. تمام. ايش كان في اسئله يمكن انا ما فاتتني؟ ممكن تشتري عن طريق CFD. انا الCFD مش كتير بحبها بصراحه، بس ممكن الواحد انه يقدر يستثمر عن طريقها. ما هي منصات التداول المشروعه في الشرق الاوسط؟ عندنا ومحمد كمان سمير، انا راح ابعت. نحن منصه كوين مينا عندها رخصه من البنك المركزي البحريني، وفي كمان منصه اخرى عندها رخصه من البنك المركزي البحريني. فعندنا رخصه زينا زي البنوك، زينا زي الشركات اللي عندها رخص ماليه. وكمان شغله نحن عفوا المنصه تبعتنا هي منصه مطابقه للشريعه، فهذا موضوع كان انا بهمني شخصيا، والحمد لله قدرنا نحصل على موافقه من شيء اسمه الشريعه ريفيو بورد، اللي هي صرحت اكدوا انه المعاملات لكوين مينا متابعه للشريعه، يعني ما نستخدم اي شيء ربوي، ما عندنا انترست بيرنج انسترومنتس وغيره. هل قوانين بتنظم العمل بالعملات المشفرة في البحرين؟ نعم، الحكومة البحرينية مرخصة وحاطة قوانين واضحة وصريحة للعملات. ما عندي علم على أي دولات أخرى، بعرف الإمارات شغالين على هذا الموضوع، ولكن هذا لسه إشي ما صار رياليتي. اوكي، يعني لا بيتابعونا بشكل سنوي. اخت رغده هذا سؤال قوي. بيعملوا لنا ترخيص اول مره، وبعدين بيعملوا لنا مراجعه نصف سنويه، فكل نصف سنه بيرجعوا بيطلعوا على البروسيسز تبعونا وبيتاكدوا انه اذا مطابقين ولا لا. تمام. هل في استراتيجيه معنيه للاستثمار في العملات الرقميه مثل التداول؟ وهل يفضل الاستثمار مع شركات تعدين ام البدء بتعلم البلوك تشين ولغات مبرمجه والاستثمار بمفرده؟ تمام. اول شيء الشخص اللي لازم يستثمر بالعملات الرقميه لازم يتاكد انه عم بيستثمر على قد طاقته. لازم الواحد يكون عنده الحيطه والحذر وما يستثمر اكبر من طاقته. ولكن أنا برأيي المتواضع أفضل استثمار الواحد ممكن يعمله اللي هو الاستثمار بقدراته، خصوصا إذا هو كان مبرمج. ولكن أنا الاستراتيجية تبعتي، أنا إلي بشتري بيتكوين وإيثيريوم أو بيتكوين عفوا كل يوم خميس من سنة 2015. ما السعر بيطلع بنزل أنا ما إلي دخل، أنا كل يوم خميس بخصص مبلغ صغير أشتري فيه عملات رقمية وما بسأل إيش السعر. فهيك أنا بشيل، لأنه نحن الإنسان خلق رب العالمين عنده مشاعر وعنده ايموشنز، وبياخذ قرارات مرات مش على منطق بس على عواطف. وانا لاشيل العواطف من الموضوع خلص بشتري كل يوم خميس من دون ما افكر. والحمد لله الى حد الان الاستراتيجيه ضابطه. احمد بيسال ICO for raising money is it good to go for it؟ انا عامل ICO من قبل لاحدى شركاتي، وكان موضوع مو سهل بس مجدي. بيعتمد ايش الواحد بده يعمل بالتوكن. فالICO هي طريقه اسهل اكيد لريزنج فاندز، بس لازم يكون في يوز كيس معين للتوكن على اساس الشخص يقدر، او عشان الشركه اللي طرحت الاي سي او تكون قادره انها انه يكون لها مستقبل واعد.
في سؤال برضو يا طلال بيقول لك ايه الفرق بين الهافينج والبيرنينج؟
تمام. الهافينج هو شيء له دخل بمنصه البيتكوين، ويمكن اورجيكم تشارت هذا الموضوع. تمام. هلا نحن قلنا البيتكوين بيطلع كل 10 دقائق، صح؟ كل 10 دقائق في كميه بيتكوين بتنطرح وبتندفع للماينرز. هاي واضحه صحيح؟ الكوميشن اللي بيندفع للماينرز بقل كل 4 سنوات. كل 4 سنوات كميه البيتكوين اللي توزع على الماينرز بتنقص بالنص. بدي اورجيكم تشارت على هذا الموضوع لانه يمكن صعب تفسيره فقط بالحكي. اوكي سامحوني، هي مش اوضح تشارت بالعالم، بس ان شاء الله انها نعمل زوم ان. تمام. اول ما بلش بيتكوين كان في 50 بيتكوين بتطلع كل 10 دقائق. وهي الدعايات سامحونا. تمام. اول ما طلع بيتكوين بسنه 2009 كان كل 10 دقائق يتم طرح 50 بيتكوين. بعد 4 سنوات بصير 25 بيتكوين بنزل كل 10 دقائق. بعد 4 سنوات كمان بسنه 2020 حولنا من 25 ل 12.5، وهلا نحن 6.25 بيتكوين بتعمل عمل كل 10 دقائق. ايش يعني هذا؟ الهافينج هو طرح البيتكوين اللي بينزل كل 10 دقائق بنقص بالنص، فهذا هو الهافينج. الجاس الكوين بيرنينج هو اللي فسرته قبل، انه لما يصير في ترانزاكشن على منصه الايثيريوم جزء منها بنحرق بنعمل له بيرن، وجزء منها بندفع للماينرز. اوكي ايش كان في عندنا؟ محمد سمير بيسالني ما معنى اي سي او؟ اي سي او هو انيشال كوين اوفرينج. انيشال كوين اوفرينج اللي هو طرح اولي لعمله رقميه. احمد بيسال do I need to know Solidity and Rust programming languages if I want to dig deeper in the fintech space؟ لا. لتشتغل بعالم الفinTech ممكن يكون عندك عده يعني ممكن تكون انت تعمل باك اند، ديف اوبس، فرونت اند، فلا هدول اللغات خصيصا للعملات الرقميه مش الفinTech، لانه الفinTech هو مجال اوسع. العملات الرقميه هو سبسكت خلينا نحكي من عالم الفinTech. ايش في اسئله فاتتنا؟ في كان سؤال علي وحسام، اذا شفتوا اسئله نحن ما جاوبناها خبروني، وانا بدي الاقي في سؤال واحد. تمام. ايش في كمان اسئله ما جاوبناها؟ How can I use blockchain in operations and logistics staffs and how could it affect the supply chain management in the future؟ تمام. نحن حكينا انه we said blockchains are a way to organize work between multiple entities. Basically in supply chain management anything that relates to having multiple parties verify transactions, blockchain can realistically be a good use for. الأخت ياسمين تسأل على فينتك.
بيقول لك what is
سوري علي أنا ما سمعتك مظبوط.
سوري انا قطعتك. بقول لك في سؤال بيقول what is FAT؟ فات.
هلا أنا صرت فات بآخر كم شهر، بس هذا ملوش دخل بالموضوع أتوقع. what is FAT؟ الانونيمس اتندي اذا ممكن تفسر لي اكثر ايش قصدك ب FAT، لاني ما عندي علم على هذا الموضوع.
طيب في سؤال تاني بيقول لو احنا ليه السنترال بانك اوف ايجيبت specifically dealing with Bitcoin currency.
تمام، انا مع كل احترامي للبنك المركزي المصري والبنك المركزي الاردني وكل البنوك المركزيه حوالي العالم، إذا في جهة حكومية نزلت قانون فهذا لا يعني إنه القانون منطقي. نحن لازم نتذكر إنه الناس اللي عم بتحط القوانين مش شرط دائما قرارها صائب. نحن لازم نتذكر إنه قبل 100 سنة المرأة كانت ممنوع تصوت، ممنوع تدرس بالجامعة، فلأنه سوريا كانت مانعة الإنترنت. بسنة 98 كان الإنترنت ممنوع بسوريا. كان لما الواحد يدخل، انا بتذكر تدخل على السعوديه يمسكوا التليفون تبعك ويكسروا الكاميرا يكسروها كسر، لانه الكاميرات ممنوعه. هلا اليوم اشوف حدا يمشي بلا سمارت فون. فانا برايي البنوك المركزيه منعت كريبتو كرنسيز لانه لساتهم مش فاهمينهم بطريقه مضبوطه. ف يمكن هم عندهم وجهه نظر انه بدهم يفهموها اكثر على اساس يقدروا يشرعوها، ولكن انا برايي اسوأ شيء ممكن يسويه الحكومات هي انه تمنع العملات الرقميه. محمد بيسالني ايه اللي يخلي الحكومات توافق على تداول العملات المشفره، يعني كيف ممكن اقناعهم؟ تمام، انا بتحدث عن نفسي فقط، ما بتحدث عن اي من الشركات اللي انا معاها. انا برايي انه الحكومات شاءت ام ابت بدها تتقبلها. يعني اليوم تخيل انك تحاول تمنع الانترنت، ما بزبط. اليوم العملات الرقميه هو واقع، والعالم عبر التاريخ ما بيقدر يوقف التكنولوجيا اللي إلها أثر إيجابي على العالم راح تلاقي طريقها، سواء كانت مرغوب فيها من الحكومات أو غير مرغوب فيها. إذا تنحوا الحكومات إنه ما بدهم الكريبتو أو ما بدهم هاي التكنولوجيا الجديدة، الناس راح تروح لبلدان أخرى لا تسويها. بتعرف السيارة أول ما نزلت كانت الناس كتير ضدها. الكهرباء نفس الشيء. هلا اليوم الكهرباء والسيارات جزء اساسي من الحياه. تمام. محمود is asking what are the disadvantages of blockchain? Blockchains are expensive, they are slow. فمش اسرع شيء. يعني اليوم مثلا اعطيك مثال، شبكه الفيزا تقدر تساوي كانه 6000 ترانزاكشن بالثانيه ولا اكثر من 6000 ترانزاكشن بالثانيه. ايثيريوم اليوم بيسمح لك يساوي اقل من 20. فلسه من هاي الناحيه بلوك تشينز ما وصلت مرحله التطور اللي التراديشنال كومبانيز وصلوها. محمد بيسال how will quantum computing affect cryptocurrencies؟ طبعا quantum computing هو مجال يمكن يكون له اثر كبير على كل شيء security related. واتوقع من اسئلتك انك ما شاء الله عليك ملم على الموضوع، فيمكن بدخل لك بشويه تفاصيل اكثر. الكوانتم كومبيوتنج الاكبر ريسك لكوانتم كومبيوتنج انه يقدر يكسر الشفره تبعت شيء اسمه SHA-256 اللي هي طريقه التشفير اللي بلوك تشين البيتكوين بيستخدمها. فالكوانتم كومبيوتنج لما يتطور ممكن يعمل اثر على او ممكن ياثر على السكيورتي تبع بيتكوين. ولكن اليوم في شيء اسمه كوانتم ريزيستنت ابروتش اللي بيتكوين وغيرها من العملات الرقميه عم تتبناه. السؤال الثاني كان the common ledger increases with size with each transaction, so at some point we will have memory space issues. Actually that's not entirely true، لانه هلا ممكن هاي تصير على الايثيريوم بلوك تشين لانه في عندك الداتا is very big، بس بالبيتكوين بلوك تشين it's only txt files، ف it's actually quite easy. بس انت data storage is not an issue. انت تخيل ايام زمان كان اذا الايميل تبعي بده يكون اكبر من 2 ميجا بدي ادفع زياده. هلا اليوم بننزل جيجا بايتات اوف فيديوهات ودنيا ولا حد بيسال عادي. فميموري سبيس انا I don't think is actually a very big issue، لانه العالم عم تمشي بالاتجاه اللي everything is digital، فديجيتال storage won't be an issue. What prevents someone from creating too much bitcoins؟ الكود تبع بيتكوين الاوبن سورس كود اللي هو مفتوح المصدر، يعني الكود مفتوح المصدر، ممكن اي حدا يدخل ويقراه. فمش ممكن انه حدا يعمل بيتكوين زياده، وهذا إشي مبرمج بالكود، ممكن اي حدا يدخل ويتحقق من هاي المعلومات. Can people easily have blockchain accounts outside their MENA countries to avoid banning in their own? Yes اكيد. again انا عم بتحدث عن نفسي هون. يا اليوم بيتكوين زي الذهب. ايام زمان ليش كانت الناس بالهند تحب تخبي ذهب بالبيت؟ لانه اذا لا سمح الله فشلت الحكومه، الذهب تبعي ذهباتي هاي، انا لا لازم اروح لبنك، ولا لازم اترجى حدا يعطيني الذهبات، هدول الذهبات عندي قاعدين بالبيت وانا مسؤول عنهم، ويسمى سيلف سوفرن ماني، نقود او اصول اللي تحت سيطرتي انا، ومو لازم اعتمد على اي شخص او جهه او حدا ثاني لا اسويها. فبكريبتو هذا الحكي ممكن، الواحد ممكن يكون الكاستوديان اوف their own crypto. How will blockchains affect the banks in the future? basically عندنا حيكون نوعين من البنوك. عندنا نوع من البنوك اللي راح يحارب العملات الرقميه وما حيتقبلها، وعندنا بنوك اللي راح تحتضنها. زي ما شفنا مع الانترنت، انتم متخيلين انه النيويورك تايمز كانت ممكن انها تعمل اكاونت على انستغرام؟ ما هم بينافسوا، واحد بيوزع معلومات وواحد بيوزع معلومات. ولكن اليوم الناس اللي زي نيويورك تايمز تواكبت وتقبلت العملات، عفوا السوشيال ميديا، وصار عندهم اكاونتس على هدول المنصات. ف I think في بنوك زي بنك جولدمان ساكس اللي داخلين بالعملات الرقميه بالعرض، وعندنا بنوك اللي حاطه راسها بالارض زي النعامه، وعامله زي كانها الكريبتو مش موجوده بالحياه. ف What is the implication of having after 40 years? الimplications of having in 40 years هو موضوع حساس جدا. هذا سؤال جدا مهم أخ سامي، وممكن يكون له أثر على السكيورتي اوف بيتكوين. لما يصير الطرح الإضافي للبيتكوين بيضل يقل. بس هذا طبعا أنا راح يعني ما بقدر أنا أخمن أو أحذر إيش راح يصير. I guess we'll have to wait and see. بس هذا واحد من الريسكس أكيد. Could you talk more about governance tokens? Governance tokens هو نوع أصل جديد. الأسهم ما كانت موجودة من أيام زمان. يعني أتوقع الإيست إنديز كومباني هي أول شركة بريطانية، أتوقع إيست إنديز داتش كومباني. هذا والله لا أشوف لكم لأنه هذا موضوع مهم. إيست إنديز داتش كومباني أظن اللي هي أول سهم بالعالم، داتش إيست إنديا كومباني. الداتش إيست إنديا كومباني هو كان أول سهم بنطرح بالعالم. سهم إيش يعني السهم؟ السهم هي ورقة مالية اللي بتعطي علي أو غيره حق بالشركة تبعتي. إيش يعني حق بالشركة تبعتي؟ يعني لما أوزع أرباح، الأرباح تتوزع على الملاك. إذا في تصويت كل واحد بيقدر يصوت بأسهمه. فكان في فاينانشال انوفيشن أو ابتكار مالي باختراع شيء اسمه أسهم. هلا صار عندنا توكنز، والتوكنز هي بتعكس ملكيه ببروتوكول، والبروتوكول هي مثلا شبكه الايثيريوم. انت لما تشتري ايثيريوم انت بتصير تملك جزء من هاي الشبكه وليس الشركه. يمكن اكزامبل ثاني، اليوم الانترنت بيستخدم بروتوكول اسمه التي سي بي اي بي، وما بقدر انا اشتري فيه. بالايثيريوم وبالكريبتو انا ممكن اشتري جزء من البروتوكول. هل في فرق بين بيتكوين وكريبتو، وايهم افضل من حيث الاستثمار؟ اكيد في فرق. بيتكوين هو جزء من انواع الكريبتو. كريبتو هو مصطلح عام بيعكس كل العملات الرقميه، بيتكوين هي اهم واكبر عمله رقميه. وايهم افضل من الاستثمار صعب انه الواحد يحكي، ولكن الواحد لازم يوزع الاستثمار تبعه على اساس ما يكون عنده كونسنتريشن بمكان واحد. أخت ياسمين، بالنسبة إنه do you think banks can benefit from the future in crypto? yeah أكيد I think banks can benefit. أخ أحمد بيسأل على دوج كوين. أكيد banks can benefit from crypto، لأنه كل تكنولوجيا ممكن الشركات تستخدمها بطرق إنها تحسن الاوفرنج تبعها او ممكن تحاول تحاربها. يعني في شفنا ايش صار مع الجرايد او مع شركات الببلشنج اللي ما واكبت مع الانترنت. احمد بيسالني should I invest in Dogecoin. اول شيء you should only invest الاشياء اللي انت واثق منها وما لازم تسمع لراي حدا على الاستثمار. Dogecoin هو ميم، هو مزحه. اذا بدك تستثمر Dogecoin لازم يكون جزء ضئيل من المحفظه الاستثماريه تبعك، يعني لا تتهور، هو بكون نصيحتي. تمام. محمد بيسأل انه let me know if now is a good time to invest using blockchain. احسن طريقه، احسن وقت للاستثمار بالبلوكتشين كان ب 2009. ثاني احسن وقت هو اليوم. فاكيد انا مش الشخص اللي منصف اللي تساله، لانه انا مش انا بايست على الاخر، انا منحاز للعملات الرقميه، لانه انا من مصلحتي اني افكر انه قيمتها حتطلع عبر الزمان، لانه انا بشتغل بهذا القطاع يعني.
طب معلش يا طارق، ممكن نشرح ليه كان أحسن وقت 2009 ودلوقتي التاني أحسن وقت؟ يمكن عشان مثلا اللي احنا فيه دلوقتي هو بول ماركت، ولا عشان إيه الأسباب اللي خلت إن ده تاني أحسن وقت؟
تمام، لانه او احسن وقت كان 2009 لانه كان سعر بيتكوين كثير قليل، واي حدا شرب 2009 ولا 10 ما بكون قاعد معنا على التليفون اليوم، بكون قاعد على البحر بالقصر تبعه يعني. ما كان بكون بيحتاج يتعلم على شيء. ليش ثاني احسن وقت اليوم؟ لانه في مقوله انا بحبها انه بتقول لك don't wait to buy bitcoin, buy bitcoin and wait. فليش افضل وقت اليوم؟ لانه خلص بلش، عايش عم تستنى. إذا ما شريت امبارح اشتري اليوم. طبعا أنا بقول استثمار وليس تداول، في فرق كبير. يعني أنا ما بشتري وببيع عملات رقمية، أنا بشتري وبفكر فيها زي كأني عم بشتري أرض أو شيء للمستقبل. يعني ما عندي نية إني أتداول وأبيع وأشتري وأحاول أضارب. أنا بشوفها كوسيلة لحفظ القيمة الاقتصادية عبر الزمان.
ممتاز، متشكر جدا.
ما هو اقل مبلغ؟ نحن على منصتنا $100، $100 بس. بتقدر الواحد بيقدر يشتري باقل، بس الواحد اليوم ب $100 بيقدر يبلش يشتغل بكريبتو وبلش يستثمر. عفوا.
وممكن طيب نتكلم شوية على الفيز اللي البلاتفورم بتاعتك بتاخدها؟ يعني مثلا لو أنا حطيت $100 الجاس فيز بتبقى تقريبا بحدود كام في المية؟
نحن بندفع على كل الرسوم، على كل الحوالات 0.75%، ف 0.75%. يعني إذا الواحد استثمر ب $100 بندفع 75 سنت.